is ain't the same shovis. They do not have the same perception of their own relationship to the truth. And the Ayin that they become by Matan Torah they work ish echad as one man. This was something which we discussed. That this being one man does not mean that they lost their individuality. They were still individuals and still in the keilim, in the seichel. But with that individuality, they were totally bitul to Atzmos Olakus. And that's why this bitul is superior to the bitul of the others. Thank you. Because of the fact that this bitul is a bitul that is akin to that which was before the mitzimtzum.
But it's a bitul that comes from entities that are mitziasim.
That's right.
As opposed to the others, which are really not.
Right.
Is that the superiority of the bitul, or how does that relate to?
No, the superiority of the bitul is in the bitul element itself. It's a superior bitul. And the way to explain this is if we can understand the following. The bitul of the oiros is due to the oiros recognition and understanding of what the truth is and what they are bottled to. The bitul of the keilim is due to the presence of that to which they are bottled. In other words, the bitul of the keilim is due to the effect milmailo. Bitul of the oiros is like milmato lamailo. Bitul of the keilim is like milmailo lamato. The source itself is begili, is present, and that's why they're bottled. Like the bitul that one has in the presence of the king, not the bitul to the wisdom decay of the king and the kingdom and so forth. Just the very presence of the king. There's a completely different bitul.
And the bitul of the oiros is milamata lamaila?
In the sense, right, because they recognize what they're bottled to.
I see. It's like the ministers of the king versus the am.
Right.
Does this whole subject of the superior, this whole hemshech is a shavuos hemshech, right?
Right.
It starts out with we got two kesurim. We have Nasiv and Ishma, right? Crown for Nasiv. So does this Ayin of the superiority of the keilim have anything to do with the whole Ayin of Kirbat Tachtenim?
That's drawing it all the way out. It has to do with the fact that by Matan Torah there was Ayin for Nasiv and keilim and Nishma.
Which is talking about keilim, not virus.
Right.
Okay, I want to hold things up.
Okay, I think we'll start inside. Whoever will be here, we'll start inside. Again, we're in the middle of this middle paragraph on page of Dalit, which is essentially a summation and conclusion of this minor. We talked about oiros and keilim, and at the end, talking about keilim, we pointed out that there is a superiority in the bitul of the keilim. Because the keilim have the element of the original reality before the tzimtzum. Keilim come from the rishim. AyinBase are very bright, but they have gone through the tzimtzum. So we will again start from the same line that we started in the past 3 days, but maybe now we will cross the bridge. 4 lines from the beginning of this paragraph. The line begins be-etzem. Be-etzem refers to the neshamis, or to the oiros, that the masim is heima. The neshamis are masim. They fit with one another, as we said many times, seamlessly. It's not that they correlate through negotiation. They completely fit with one another. The pashtus. By his chalkus and the subdivision, the distinction between one neshama and the other neshama, who mitzad ha-keilim, is from the perspective of the keilim. When it comes down to seichel, which is in the keilim, that is when in the same shores. They're not, they're different. The fact that at Matan Torah they all were ki-ish echad, like one man, and as he pointed out, one man does not mean they were one entity. A man is not the one entity. A man has a full structure of all the koiches, the 10 koiches. With all that, they were like one man. How is that possible? Who Ayin bitul keilim. This is the principle of the bitul keilim. It's a bitul coming from the keilim directly, while it remains a keilim, which means a distinct entity, and yet it has full bitul. This bitul is not nullification of its presence. It's subjugation. It's completely giving over, dedication. And as the posik they describe, refers to it in a different context. When the Rosh Yom, the heads of the nation, gather together. They are still Rosh Yom, they're still individual Roshim, and yet they become Yachad, they come together. The Koya al Rosh Hashanah, and that, we saw Rosh Yom, that refers to the Rosh Hashanah. Say, B'bchinis Yis'ardus v'Hiskaldus. But at that point, they have the element of Yis'ardus, of unification, v'Hiskaldus, and being interconnected. One joining with the other. And this is mitzad bitul keilim. This is due to the bitul of the keilim, that the dedication of the keilim. To give us, these are things clearly that they are beyond seichel, and to understand them is close to impossible. But we can go on the periphery. The principle of bitul keilim may be understood from the following angle. In the keilim, as we said before, an individual Yid, as an neshama, is mislabish in the goof. It becomes a mitzias in the goof. It's mislabish in the brain. It becomes a mitzias. And once it's in the brain, it depends on how the brain processes the information and how it experiences it. And therefore, ain't they the same shopes? They do not come. They have their das. the awareness and recognition of the reality is different. Each one is different. And yet there is the bitul keilim. And this bitul keilim allows them to intermingle and interrelate. What is the principle of bitul keilim?
What is the principle of what?
This bitul keilim. How do we formulate the thought that will explain to us, allow us to conceptualize the sin of bitul keilim? So, this union of AyinBase Shovis, you know, there is a din that when you meet up with a huge gathering of Eden, like 600,000, there's a special bracha to make. Baruch HaChamaros. This bracha expresses the fact that the chokhmah emanating from the Beis is of such power and such enormity and so forth that it imbues in 600,000 different individuals different days. 600,000 days, even though they all refer to the same thing and they know it in 600,000 different ways. Make a bracha, Baruch HaChamaros.
Baruch HaChama.
Horozi. In other words, what this bracha is impressing upon us, that yes, indeed, each individual has his own seichel. But this individual seichel is something which was created by God. Each seichel is a separate creation. Giving this one, this kind of, enabling this one to understand it this way, and this one to understand this way. Therefore, when one, let's say, meets up with someone else, and they have AyinBase, they have two different opinions, two different days, and they cannot agree, AyinBase. So from the perspective of their Beis, of how they think, how they understand, they remain in different views. Different feelings. Nonetheless, they all join together in making the bracha Baruch HaChamaros, that everyone recognizes that my daya and your daya are actually relating to the same source, the same truth. Because it's relating to the same truth, I accept your daya and you accept my daya. Not because I have given up my opinion, but because that is coming from this reality, from Hashem himself. This is the bitul keilim. Even though I still don't agree with you, but I'm bottled because of who you represent.
Batul meaning I'm acknowledging that what you're saying could also be...
What?
Batul meaning I'm acknowledging what you're saying is also true. Is that what batul in a sense means?
I cannot acknowledge it, not because I understand it, because I don't understand it. But I acknowledge the fact that you have your opinion, and I accept it. Why? Even though I don't agree with it, because this is an opinion coming from the neighbors, not in you. So this is a bitul on a keilim level. because there is not really an agreement. He's not giving up his own opinion, but he's bottled to the one who is making this, who is stating this opinion. Like I said before, that bitul keilim is not due to the oil, but is due it's due to the presence of the king. This is Kabbalah say Mach, zeh גם כן עניין Kabbalah say Mach Shemayim the Rosh Hashanah. This is the union of Kabbalah say of Mach Shemayim of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, we know the Avodah of Rosh Hashanah is focused on the union of Kabbalah say of Mach Shemayim, of accepting the yoke of the kingdom of heaven. Accepting the yoke which is the principle of the bitul of keilim. Dafka means specifically, not mitzad the oil, mitzad the keilim. In other words, if the reason beginning from Kabbalah say Mach Shemayim the Rosh Hashanah, Kabbalah say Mach Shemayim on account of the fact that I appreciate the Mach Shemayim, that's not Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is I don't appreciate it, but there is a Kabbalah soil because there is Malchus Shemayim. That is called bitul keilim.
Is it to say that in order to have Kabbalah soil, there has to be some kind of cognizance of presence of
what?
Shema?
What do you hear?
Is it? We're saying that bitul keilim is when there is a presence of a king, right? So when we start talking about avoid of Kabbalah Mach Shemayim, is that to say that there is some kind of a cognizance of the presence of the Malchus Shemayim?
Right. That's what the keilim recognize.
That's not an appreciation.
This is an extremely difficult thing to express, but let me just point it out. The keilim, as we said before, is that which remains after the tzimtzum, which means the keilim are not the creation. The keilim are representative of the original truth, of the original reality. The originality, this Indian, that there is a melech, mitzad seichel, you have to say, you know what the melech's opinion is, what the melech's wisdom is, and so forth. But the presence of the king per se, this touches the mitzias of the person.
I didn't hear the last sentence you said. This heaven, you said? This something?
The presence, the recognition of the presence of the king is recognized by the presence of the human being, of the individual.
That's keilim?
That's the keilim. The mitzias. Right. Like we said many times, follow me. Kriya Shema, we sit down in order to be able to reflect what Kriya Shema is on the depth of the union from Avdos Havai. We have this Hashem Elokecha and so forth. Avdos Hashem. Kriya Shema refers to our personal understanding and personal appreciation of Elokus. come to Shemoneh Esrei. Shemoneh Esrei is a completely different state. There we stand by the wall like pillars. There we do not experience our own seichel, our own midas. There we're standing in front of the king because of the presence of the king himself, not because of our appreciation of the king. This is mitzvah keilim. And Shemoneh Esrei is a much deeper bitul than that of Kriyishma. Kriyishma, as a matter of fact, is like a hachona to Shemoneh Esrei.
About the idea that we're asking for our needs in Shemoneh Esrei. That's conscious. That's bitul.
The asking for, we discussed it at one time before. The asking for our needs in Shemoneh Esrei is asking to enable us to fulfill his mission.
We're not asking for our personal interests.
Right. Like I mentioned many times, to stand erect like this does not make sense. It's on the seichel and midas. This is a bitul completely ignoring one's intelligence and one's emotion and expressing the principle that as an entity, I stand in front of you. In a person, in a human being, there are, and we know that the human being is extremely deep and extremely complex. There is keiches, there is seichel and midas, feelings, and so forth. Then there is the appearance of the human being, the structure, his body structure. The body structure of a human being is only an allusion to what the human being is. And the structure, the head is on top, and then there is the body and the heart and the arms and the feet. But the structure is not what makes him understand or feel. What makes him understand and feel is the brain inside the head and the heart inside the body. And the ability in the hand is also the chush, the talent that's in the hand, not the physical hand. So this is only the container, this is the cake. And yet, by Shemoneh Esrei, we are presenting our keilim instead of the inside of the chayas, of the seichel and midas. As I said, for seichel and midas, one would have to contemplate and discuss and reflect on what do one mean. He just stand there like a pillar in front of the wall.
So Paul, we shouldn't be doing much reflection when we're actually davening.
Right. By davening, our reflection is standing in front of the king.
That's even true for the Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur davening.
Yes. Son Yom Kippur is even more. So Son is doing from Kabbalah side.
Yeah, because they're also standing up a lot longer.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue inside. Inside the bitul keilim al yidei zehu hayisagdus. As a result of the bitul keilim, this is what enabled, this is what effectuated the hisagdus, the unity as one man. Even though it's a man, everyone is a man, and yet it's like a one man. This is what bitul keilim. Because this bitul, again, I'm repeating, hoping, because this bitul is effectuated milmaila, from above, because of the presence of the king. This is how the bitul is effectuated. It's not something which effectuates milmato l'mayla, from inside the person. Like we have the principle that in the presence of the king, the highest ranking officer, general, and the simplest servant are equal. I can be equal. The highest ranking, the officer understands the king much better than the simple person. He appreciates the king. But in front of the king, he is not standing in front of him because he appreciates him, but because he is a melech. From that perspective, the melech is equidistant from him as he is from the simple person.
What kind of avodah is there in this bitul? It seems as though if the king is present, the bitul is automatic. Doesn't require any kind of avodah at all.
Correct. Except that you have to accept the king. By Matan Torah, the big thing was that it said Nasev and Yishma. Accepting this Inyan was as a result of profound avodah.
I'm trying to provoke you to say something about Rosh Hashanah.
Just not, you're learning about Rosh Hashanah. There's another Shabbos from Ayin before Rosh Hashanah. Who knows what comes out then?
Okay.
ועל-ידי זהו ההיסחדוס. This is what effectuates the hisagdus, כאיש אחד, because they miyuchad not internally in themselves, they miyuchad because there is only one reality by all of them. Reality of the Melech. Like I said before, that recognizing that we have all different opinions, but your opinion and my opinion, his opinion, all emanate from the same source. Exactly the same source. And it represents that source. Therefore there's Yisagdus. I respect my opinion, not because it's my opinion, but because this is the opinion that the Rebbe gave me. And therefore I respect your opinion, not because it's your opinion, but because this Hashem gave you this opinion. So this completely your Yisagdus.
That bitul keilim?
That bitul keilim. I don't appreciate that, but
Bitul Tzaddik is seeing how it fits together?
oh, that's it. Bitul Tzaddik is a complete unification, appreciation. Ukmoi came in Matan Torah. Likewise, in Matan Torah, Hoya Bahem bitul hakeil. They had experienced the union of bitul hakeil. That means that the individual understanding of the seichel in the same Shabbos was a bitul. I said the bitul hakeil is that I understand it, but it's not my understanding. It's the understanding, it's the Mevash's understanding. Ad shenasu ki ish echad. So profoundly, so that they became ki ish echad, like one man. Ze hoya achona rabbo lamatan Torah, and this then represented achona rabbo, the great preparation for Matan Torah. Why is this a achona specifically for Matan Torah? Because in order that there should be an emanation from the Bechina of Atzmos Ein Sof. Again, what Bechina, we already know what that means. Bechina of Atzmos Ein Sof, which means from the aspect of Atzmos. There is Seichel and Midas and so forth, but there is an aspect that's called Atzmos. Atzmos Ein Sof, the infinity itself. Shezei Inyan HaTorah, which in fact this is the Inyan of Torah, Shehu, which is Hamshochas Gilui Atzmos Ein Sof Boro. The Inyan of Torah is the drawing down, the Gilui, the revelation of Atzmos Ein Sof Boro, of Atzmos Ein Sof. Even though Torah comes down into the world, and it identifies things in the world, but it identifies things in the world from, not from a worldly perspective, but from a godly perspective. This possibility to identify the world from a godly perspective, ignoring the worldly perspective, comes with an Atzmos Ein Sof.
An example of identifying worldly things from a godly perspective is like the whole thing that you discussed about Beis Bigzel,
Right,
ownership.
right.
That's only as a result of Torah.
That's only as a result of time. And to put this quite directly, ownership, your ownership, is actually representing Hashem's ownership. Because that Hashem owns everything, the whole world, by His largesse, He made you own, to a degree, your property. And that's what you own. So that this ownership is actually representative of Atzmos Ein Sof being present in the world. If it were from a worldly perspective, it would be completely different phenomenon, different concept. V'zeh hoyam hachon u'lematan Torah. This inyan of this bitul, this was I'm sorry, I went back a line. The Matan Torah hoya gilui, 3 lines on the bottom. The Matan Torah hoya begilui mamash. The inyan from Atzmos Ein Sof, to be mamshich gilui Atzmos Ein Sof, Atzmos Ein Sof is actually present all the time, but it's not begilui. And then there's the inyan from mamshich the begilui. But Matan Torah, this inyan was begilui mamash. was in full revelation. Mamash means that it was clear that there is only Atmas and Sof. And that's why at that point Eden were able to say Na'aseh v'nishma. Because they recognized Seichel is insignificant. Midas is insignificant. There's only one reality that's significant. This is that's what they say.
I don't understand how the hachana, the achdus comes as a result of the presence of the melech. The hachana, which was its also achdus, happened before that. Vayichan.
Right. When they approached Har Sinai, and they already knew that here they are going to be receiving the Torah from Hashem, within the Hachana process, they already had been determined that they are ready to receive the Torah from Hashem without scrutiny. Like the story goes, that Hashem presented the Torah to all kinds of different nations. And each one wanted to know what does it say in the Torah? In the Torah, what does it say there? The only nation that did not ask what it says was the Jewish nation. Every other nation says, yeah, Hashem wants to give you something. I'm interested. What is it? He even said, Hashem wants to give me finished. But then it's a gift from Hashem that precludes all questions.
So this is like they're setting aside the AyinBase Shavos part.
That's right.
That was something they did even before the Melech showed up.
That's right. This was part of the Hachana, and Hashem should come down and give him the Torah.
Na'aseh v'nishma was also before.
What?
Na'aseh v'nishma was also before Matan.
Yeah.
It was part of the Chayim.
That's right. In order to marry the Torah, they said they had to say Na'aseh v'nishma. The Hamshocha Zu, this Hamshocha, that there should be Gilui Atmas and Soif, who are the bitul keilim dafka. This comes as a result of bitul keilim. And this means bitul keilim dafka. Dafka means exclusively it cannot be obtained by bitul ha'edus. Because in oil there is always the personal recognition, the personal involvement, and appreciation. That's not the infinite Atmas. Like we always discuss and quote what the Rambam says, that the first foundation of everything, of all wisdom, is to know that there is a first being. How does one know that there is a first being if he doesn't have seichel? This is a yesod for wisdom. How does one know that there is a first being without wisdom? The answer is that everyone has a piece of God in himself. And from that piece of God, he knows that there's a first being. This is not something that he discovered by investigation, by logical process.
Piece of what?
Huh?
Piece of?
Of God. He has a sense of, there's a reality. That's, reality is a godly presence.
I'm not sure that I get that we seem to be saying two things at the same time.
Now what?
We seem to be saying two things at the same time that are not the same. That the bitul, keilim, the unity, the disregarding of virus seems to come because of the presence of the king. And yet we're also saying that somehow before the presence of the king was there, the Yidden somehow were able to achieve that bitul, and that was a hachana for the king to come. So we're saying it's a hachana, and it's also, we're saying it's an effect of the king coming. It's a preparation for his coming, and then it's a consequence, it's an effect of his coming. Which is it? Does that make sense? That question doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So the answer to this is that in the Hachana they were told that they are going to receive a Torah from the Melech. They were asked, are you willing to accept it? And they did not ask what it's saying there. Which means, when it comes to the Melech, they completely abandon their individual thinking.
What enabled them to do that? Just being told that the king is about to come and reveal himself?
That's right. What enabled them to do that is because every Yid was called the be-etzem HaNefesh. That's like we said before. The be-etzem HaNefesh, this is a godly piece in the human being, in the Yid. In other words, inside the be-etzem HaNefesh, we know that there is that ultimate reality. We know without even before we know, so to speak. Then when it comes down to it, we realize it. Later, it reveals itself in the form of das. But internally, that is our Matthias. This knowledge is our Matthias. There's two levels of das, of knowing. There's a level of das, it's impossible not to know. That's what a human being is. And then there is a level das that it's consciously known. This came through revelation. This inyan that there is a melech, this is something which for you is impossible not to know. But when they were told that the melech is coming down to give them a Torah, that's when it became a conscious knowledge. That's when it says Nasa v'nishma. Baruch?
I'm here. So it's like they got shocked into revealing their essential being.
No, not shocked. They were perfectly fit for it.
It wasn't a shock.
It was a shock, but it wasn't that due to the shock element that they accepted it. It was a shock because this was never read before.
But you're saying they always knew this, but it didn't sort of occur to them that they knew this.
Right. And I just want to reveal something to you, a secret. That which you don't know that you know is much, much more than that which you know that you know.
Can you read that?
That which you don't know that you know is a lot greater than that which you know that you know. Should I say that 10 times fast?
What?
Should I say that 10 times fast?
That which you don't know.
What you know.
That's what you don't know that you know.
No.
It's easy to say.
No. That's a different thing.
No.
No, you should. Do it again.
That which you don't know that you know is a lot greater than that which you know that you know.
Okay? A lot greater.
In quality and quantity.
In every aspect.
So that das was the presence of the king, which allowed for them to have this bitul keilim. Allowed for the Matan Torah to be the real.
This was already in knowing that we know it. It's in the conscious knowledge. Bitul keilim. Zehu vayichen shem Yisrael. Now we're concluding the minor. Zehu vayichen shem Yisrael. And thus this is what vayichen shem Yisrael means. Kulam ki ish echad. That they were all like one man. Again, we're emphasizing like one man. A man is a pshat that he has. What? I'm sorry, what? By Yicham. You're looking for the place? By Yicham Shem Yisrael. By Yicham, they encamped by the mountain. Kulam ki ish echad. All of them like one man. Now, what is a man? A man is one who has a das and all that comes with it. And that remained. But they were all cool ki isha. They have their own das. I can, and in the same shoulders. How can they all have the same das? And so they didn't have the same das. And yet, in their differences, they were like one man. Why? They had bitul shalahem. As a result of the bitul that they had. And this was necessary by Matan Torah bigdei shetiyeh hamshochet ateirim b'chinas asmus, so that they should be hamshochet ateirim from the bechina of asmus.